Hey, so if you are a tutor, listen up. In this video, I'm revealing exactly how I went from 0 to 33 students in 3 months, going from earning $0 a month at end November 2022 to 9K a month at end February 2023. I'm sharing the exact framework on what I did to get there. And at the end of this, I'm going to share the most important secret, which is causing students to pre-apply for my class, even though on my website, I clearly state that classes are closed. So watch to the end for that. In the meantime, here's the exact framework that I went through. And I'm going to break this down into 5 phases. So phase number 1 is throwing out the bait. Now for this, I need to give you some background. So in 2021, I saw an ad for this book, Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Subi, on Instagram, and I bought the book because he was sending it for free. You just have to pay for shipping. And so this book basically taught me marketing for the first time, and I learned direct response marketing from these principles. Now, it's not like he invented it. Direct response marketing is very well known for many years. It's just that I never applied it yet. And so to explain it simply, you have a lead magnet, which is the bait, and you give this for free to your target market. So whatever it is, let's say they want notes or they want tips for how to score well at that subject, you give this out for free. So what happens is then people will download that free lead magnet and they will come to your website. And when they're on your website, after they've downloaded, not only can you collect their email address, but second, you can then redirect them to your landing page and show them that, hey, you can join my classes if you want. Apply here. So actually from 2021 to 2022, I was already running this strategy, but using a free ebook on study hacks to help them score really well in O-level biology, because that's the subject level that I teach. So it was working, but it wasn't that great of a lead magnet. And I hypothesized that a free notes lead magnet would be much better because of how many students were asking me whether I had notes to share. And so I debated this for quite long. It was honestly quite stressful because if I gave these free notes away, which is actually the notes that I've made for my students, I worried that now no one else would need to come for my tuition anymore because they already have the notes. But after discussing with my friend and considering the pros and cons, I realized that most students would probably come here not for the notes, but because they can have me as their coach and their guide. The worst thing that could happen is that, okay, maybe for 1 year, I have very little students, but after that, I can just stop giving out the notes and eventually people forget about it. Then things will go back to normal. So I took the leap of faith and I gave out the student's copy of my notes, which I've spent hundreds of hours, maybe even 1,000 plus hours on, and made it into a lead magnet, offering it to my market for free. So I then ran ads on promoting the free notes and a lot of students wanted it. So a lot of them clicked on it. They went to my website, they filled in their email address and they pressed submit. So in their email, they got the free notes. And now I have their email. And this is a moral bribe because they're getting what they want, which is free notes. And in exchange, I get their email address. And to give them a reason for why I need their email address, I state there on my website that, hey, it's going to send the notes to your email. So that's why they need to put in their real address. If not, they're not going to get the notes. So this is an ethical bribe, and that's how a lead magnet works. You give them something that they want and you get their email address for free. Now, a bonus thing that I get is that after they click submit, they are redirected to my landing page. And my landing page is basically my homepage, where I give them the opportunity to apply for my class. Now, the good news is that most students who want to download my notes want to do so because they want to improve in this subject. And a portion of those students know that they need help with the subject, so they need tuition, and they're on the lookout for it. So once they get redirected and land on my homepage, those small percentage of students who know they need help will just be like, wait, since this guy is giving out good notes and I have the opportunity and I need tuition, why not just apply and see what happens? So that's what they do, and that's how I get students applying to my Google form, signing up for my classes. But this is only a small part of how that works. I'll be showing you how I get more students to apply for the Google form in my following phases. Okay, so that leads me to phase 2, which is actually announcing the opening of my class. So whenever I open up more spots for my class, I will announce this on my social media as well as on an email broadcast. And remember how in phase 1 when we got their emails, and so now I have thousands of emails which I can just send a broadcast to. But of course, don't spam them. In fact, most of the time, I'm actually sending out helpful emails about tips for how they can improve. So they appreciate these emails. And when the broadcast finally comes, which is at most once a month, people actually will open it up and read it, and they will not regard me as spamming them. So from the email, students who want to apply, they will click it, and that's how I get more application. Also on my social media, especially Instagram, I will announce on the story that, hey, I'm opening up more spots, and my loyal followers who are always consuming my content, benefiting from the tips, looking through my story, a small percentage of them would then apply for my class from that announcement on my Instagram stories. Okay, and here's phase 3, which is to inject scarcity and urgency. And how you do that is by having limited spots every time you open, plus a deadline for when signups are going to close. So I typically open 5 spots, and I have the deadline for closing around 5 to 6 days at most. So this gives the sense to your following that your classes are exclusive, that the demand is high and the supply is low, which is actually true because I cannot possibly accommodate so many students signing up at the same time. So you already have real scarcity, so why not just make use of it and announce it to your following? So put this in everything you do. I put it on my website underneath the apply button. I put it in my Google form as well when students are trying to apply. And in my email broadcast or on Instagram stories, I always announce the number of spots left and when it's going to close. So scarcity and urgency really move people to take action. And I've seen that in my own experience with making students actually take action and apply for the class. Okay, now phase 4. You have all these students who've applied for your class. It's time to actually convert them into paying students and get them to give you money. So when I first started out, what I did was that these applications, I'll just let them enter a free trial lesson. And then if they wanted to stay, they would stay and they would then become a paying student. But the issue with this is that it wasn't very exclusive and a lot of students were just coming for the sake of it being a free trial lesson, but they didn't have any intention to continue. And perhaps the worst part about this method is that I cannot do anything to try and persuade a student to join if they already had certain objections. Like maybe they were worried that they would miss a bit of the lesson because they had CCA on that day, and so because of that they don't want to join. But if I'm talking to them, I have the opportunity to persuade them and say, hey, actually it's fine even if you join late. I'm fine with that. And you can always re-watch the part of the lesson that you missed because we record all our lessons. And if you still have questions, you can ask me anytime on WhatsApp outside of class. So that typically helps to convince them, and I will get a student that I otherwise would have lost. So this is why I transitioned to the new method, which is interviewing every single student. I learned this from Dylan Lim of Paradigm Math. I'm going to pop up his website over here. And to be honest, I just funnel hacked him. I also have a similar Google form, and then leading to an interview, and from the interview, select students, plus actually it's also a sales call. So for the application form, you must strategize your questionnaire to see whether a student is the right kind of student that you want in your class. Now at first, I know that it's very tempting to just accept any student who wants to give you money. But trust me, I've experienced it, the headache is really not worth it. When the student isn't coachable, or they give you a lot of problems, or their parents give you a lot of problems, it's really not worth it. So some helpful questions to qualify them on your application form would be, what issues do you have with the subject? To what extent are you struggling with the subject? Is it like you're actually okay with it, you don't really need tuition, or you're dying and you absolutely need help? Do your parents know that you need help, and are they supportive? So I have these kind of questions strewn throughout my application form, so I don't need to waste my time figuring out whether this person is a good fit before I get on the interview with them. So if you want, you have my permission, you can just go to my website, click on the apply, look through all the questions, but don't actually submit because it's very annoying if you submit a fake response. But yeah, I allow you to steal my questions and steal the idea, it's totally fine. Now on the interview itself, there are 2 goals. One is to qualify them that they are actually good and coachable students. Now some students are just very lazy, or they're here just to get that magic pill from you and they expect you to work a miracle. If that's the case, then you should communicate that with the student and tell them that, hey, sorry, but this is not going to be what you expect. So I don't think this is the best fit for you. The second part of it is that actually it's a sales call, but the secret to this is instead of you trying to persuade them, oh, this is why you should join us because, you know, we are so good. Instead, you should question why they think they should join. So instead, you try and play the devil's advocate and you say, hey, if you join, you would have 2 hours less compared to a student who doesn't join a tuition. So why are you okay with that? And then they would explain to me why they need a tuition and why it's better than not joining. So I ask all these questions to force them to explain and convince themselves why they should join. And so near the end of the interview, I would tell them whether I'm accepting them or not. And this adds on to that exclusivity that, you know, I'm choosing the student and not the other way around. Finally, at the end of the interview, I'm going to show them the prices and the details of the class. And notice how I only show this at the very end. If they ask me earlier, I would say it depends because it really does. I do have more than one pricing option. And the second thing is I would tell them what's most important is that we get you accepted first. Because if you're not the right fit for this class, then we don't even need to talk about those details. Before they log off the Zoom call, I would ask them, give me a sensing scale of 1 to 10. 10 is like, you're very serious, you're very committed, you know this is right for you, and you really want to sign up now. And then 1 is the opposite of that, like you hate this, you don't want to sign up. So they'll give me from 1 to 10, a range, and then they usually say something along the lines of 8, 9, or sometimes even 10. And so you'd ask them, okay, why is it not a 10? And they probably say something like, Oh, because I need to check my parents first. Now, if they say that, then you say, good, I want you to check your parents as well. Now, imagine if your parents agreed to whatever you said. So if you said yes, they will also agree with you. If you said no, they will also say no. If that was the case, then would it be a 10? And if they say, maybe it will be a 9, then it means that there's something that they are not confident about, that for some reason this tuition will not work for them. So ask them about it, and sometimes they'll tell you that, oh, I'm not sure if I can focus enough and benefit from the lessons, or I'm not sure that I can recall all the things in the exam because I feel like my memory is not very good. So then you have these objections which you can address rather than letting it be a silent killer that only rears its ugly head after you've gotten off the call and they tell you that, oh, they don't want to join. I will make more in-depth videos into how to interview the students and the persuasion tactics to increase your conversion rate. So subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when those videos come out in future. So at this point, most of the students who I interview will actually join. 95% of them would just sign up straight away for 1 month, but there is a small percentage who are still a bit skeptical and they want a trial lesson first. In that case, you should still charge for 1 lesson worth of that trial lesson. And typically, what I've found is that most students who I've properly interviewed, qualified them as good students, and they attend a trial lesson, they will after that decide to join as a monthly paying student. Okay, and phase number 5 is very simple but so essential, which is to treat them extremely well. So my lessons are all rehearsed. I make sure that every lesson is planned properly. I am fluent when I'm talking, and that I don't waste their time. I jam-pack it with value. I make it super useful to them, and so they will love our lessons. Next, I also give them simple but highly useful resources for free as just being a student. So when they come in, they're expecting lessons and they're expecting to ask you questions on WhatsApp. That's pretty much it. But when they come into my class, I throw them all these good resources and they're like, wow, this is a lot better than I expected. Plus, I send them a welcome gift when they join to just make them feel more special, that this is something exclusive and premium that they've just become a part of. And finally, I have other perks, like I give them free consultations, which I don't even charge for, and sometimes in-person consultations where I would even buy them free bubble tea or free food. So if you treat them extremely well, number one, those students who sign up for 1 month at first, they're going to stay, and they're going to stay for the next month and the next and the next, and they're going to be loyal students. So you can count on them as dependable income. And number two, this is going to spread that word of mouth. So if your students love your class that much, they're going to convince their friends around them in school to also join your class. Now, a note on this one, although I really love word of mouth and it's very powerful, the problem is that new tutors who are at my stage cannot rely on word of mouth solely because it is way too small at this stage. More experienced tutors who've been around longer have built up that word of mouth to the extent where they don't even need direct response marketing like I do. But I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you are not there yet. So please do not rely solely on word of mouth. I think this is a huge myth in the tuition industry that, oh, word of mouth is the only way to get students. And I'm going to make a separate video on this in the future. So those are the 5 phases. I really tried to lay out everything as concisely as possible. My target for this year is to have 50 students by 1st June. And at this rate, I'm definitely going to hit that. So that will amount to 15K per month of revenue. Of course, I have costs like I have assistants who I hire and other costs involved like subscriptions, Zoom, equipment. So take that number with a grain of salt. And as promised, here's the bonus secret, which is actually the most important thing. This is what's getting students to apply for my class, even though I clearly state on my website that classes are closed. Yet they still pre-apply because that's how much they want to get in. So the secret is building the brand on social media. So I've spoken a lot about direct response near the start of this video, but branding is way more sustainable because it's where you build trust and loyalty with your following. Ever since start of November 2022, I've been posting very regularly, showing my face on social media so that my following can actually connect with me that, oh, this is a real person behind this brand. Plus, a lot of students who are not in my class are spreading the word of mouth about my free notes, which is my lead magnet. So they're sharing it with their friends because I also allow them to. In fact, in the notes description, I put there, please share this with everyone because I want all of you to succeed at this subject. And so they're basically promoting my brand for me. This is honestly the most powerful thing, and it's also why I get a lot of signups every time I announce on my story or in my email broadcasts that I'm opening more spots, because people already trust me and I have built up this reputation, so it's a lot easier to get students. No longer is it I'm trying to desperately get you to join my class, but rather you are the one who wants to enter, and it's up to me whether I allow you. So how do you primarily get students into your class? Tell us below because it might really help other tutors listening to this. If you are a solo tutor or small tuition business, then subscribe to this channel because it's going to make you more money. If you want to know more about building that brand and a loyal following, then watch this video here.